Sox in the basement.
Welcome in the Sox in the basement as the holidays are upon us. Christmas right around the corner. I'm stressed out. The White Sox are doing little things. We're still waiting for something really big, but we've got some of those little things, like an addition into the front office that I think is very intriguing. Another player added on to the roster that they basically bought for cash. Normally we're selling players for cash. They bought one for cash, and much more to talk about on this episode. The Sox are going to be on as well. First off, happy 75th birthday to Ed Lanuti, my father. 75.
Happy birthday.
Huge White Sox fan. Big listener to Sox in the Basement. He has to be because it's his son. Okay.
70. He's also upstairs as we're doing this, right? So
75 years old. 75 years old. And his favorite player, Louis Aparicio. For those of you who want that kind of trivia, that's his guy, Louis Aparicio. Although I bought him a
good pick.
I bought him a Louis Aparicio jersey once. And the thing was, I wanted it had to be custom made. So I gave him the money, I gave him the gift certificate, I gave him all this stuff to go buy the thing. I had it all set up for him to get this like vintage thing, and he decided he didn't want it because he doesn't like wearing jerseys. He's one of those guys doesn't wear somebody else's name on his back. So he basically turned it in to get money to buy a bunch of other stuff. Loves Louis Aparicio, not wearing the jersey. That's my old man. Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Before we start the show, I have something, like every once in a while something happens that I don't have a podcast to talk about it on. And then I go, well, I'm going to put it on the big one. I'm going to put it on the one that's got all the listeners. I'm going to put it on Sox in the Basement. Okay. So bear with me for like 3 minutes because you got to hear this. If you want to know how screwed up the state of Illinois is and your government, this is proof right here. So I go through my divorce, Ed, you know very well about this, and I'm looking for myself. And there's a point where I have to get off of her health insurance. And there was a thing where it extended for a while. There was like an agreement in place. So after the divorce, I was kind of covered for a while, right? But there was a point where I was going to go off it. And I had a friend of mine say, you work for yourself. It's just you, but you're only getting insurance for you, but you got the kids living with you. I bet you qualify for Medicaid. Now, I didn't believe I did because Medicaid is like for people that really, really need it. And you've got to have a lot of problems and you've got to have some financial issues. There's different reasons why you would get Medicaid. But I was like, there's no way I qualify for this, Ed. No way. But I got egged on. You should go take a look at it. So I go on the website, put in my name, my address, my information, just start the application. Get to a point where I realize I'm right. I don't qualify for Medicaid. I'm going to go out and get my own insurance, which I did. And I've had my own insurance now for the whole year, essentially, right? I just renewed with a new plan because we're in open enrollment, right? I'm paying for my own insurance. I didn't even finish the Medicaid application, folks. Didn't even finish it. I got notifications like, hey, Chris, do you still want Medicaid? Submit proof of citizenship. Hey, Chris, you still want Medicaid? Submit your financial records. Hey, Chris, you want Medicaid? Go to Blue Island to our offices and you need to have an interview or we're not going to give it to you. And I ignored them all because I don't qualify for Medicaid and I don't want Medicaid. And I didn't even finish the application for Medicaid. And yesterday, I got a letter from the state of Illinois that they're giving me Medicaid.
Oh, my God.
Folks, they don't even know who I am. They don't have my license. They don't have my information. I haven't submitted any records of anything like that. And they just gave it to me. I just put my name on an application and didn't even finish it. And the state of Illinois waited almost a full calendar year and it just gave it to me. And if they gave it to me, they do that all the time. I'm so flabbergasted by what happened. I'm so blown away by it that I had to tell people about this. This is a real thing that happened. I have been awarded free government health insurance and I don't qualify for it and I didn't finish the application for it. And the letter is sitting right here with insurance cards for all of you to pay for my health insurance. Now, I'm not going to do that because that's fraud, right?
Right.
I already talked with a friend of mine who actually sells insurance to companies. And I'm like, what do I do? He's like, call them and tell them that they've made a mistake. I'm like, I don't think everybody does that.
No, that doesn't happen all the time at all.
I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do it because I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm one of those people that's like, I'm going to get caught eventually, right? That's how I always am. Like, one, I was raised, you don't steal, right? And you don't commit fraud. I have a certain code of honor that I live by. You're only as good as your name and your word and all that stuff. But also, I would get caught. It would be me that got caught, right?
That's just it. It. Anytime I'm faced with that situation, that's the first thought that crosses in my head is I am not lucky enough to get away with anything at all.
They just gave it to me, Ed. They gave it to me, and I never asked for it. It's all right there. I didn't even finish the application. I didn't send in any proof of anything. I could be anybody. I could be a made-up person. They don't care. They just gave it to me.
Is there a guy named Andy Dufresne who's created you? Am I talking to a ghost here?
Yeah, and then everybody wonders why the taxes keep going up and why everything's screwed up. This is why. Why the Bears have to look at moving to Indiana because apparently there's no money to fix the roads around the Arlington Heights site. Arlington Heights wants it, but they can't figure out how they're going to build the infrastructure, so they're going to go to Indiana. I kind of want them to go to Indiana. I have no problem with them going to Indiana. Indiana would be closer for the South Side. Well, I don't have to drive through downtown Chicago or take 294 to get around it and fight my way up into an area where the traffic's always worse and there's too many people. Put it in Northwest Indiana and you're going to make me happy and every other South Sider happy. Every other South Sider would be it. It'd be like, that'd be it. The Bears.
Yeah, but with those personal seat licenses, it's all the people that are coming from way up north that have all that money to spend.
I don't know.
They're the ones that are going to complain.
Valparaiso Bears has a ring to it. All right.
It really does.
It really does. All right. One other thing that I want to start off the conversation with today. And then we're going to get to this incredible hire that the White Sox made. I'm really excited about it.
Good, because we're like 7 minutes in and we haven't said the word White Sox yet.
Shut up. Listen, something happened that I think everybody needs to know. That's something you need to know about. People need to know that happened to me, and it shouldn't happen. And if it happened to me, it happens to a lot of people, and that's crazy to me. Okay.
You know who I bet used to get Medicaid like that? Jerry.
Jerry probably is on Medicaid.
Jerry's on Medicare now. He's
Medicare, but he was probably on Medicaid before. Right?
Yeah. He just kept saying, I own the White Sox. We haven't made money in 40 years.
There's nobody in the stands. And we really just kind of break even every year. And I'm poor. Can I get some government assisted? He probably got it. I mean, if I could get it, anybody could get it.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't even apply. I didn't even apply.
Yeah, I've never heard you say you only break even and have absolutely no money. I've heard Jerry say that, though.
Incomplete application. Yeah, they just gave it to me. All right, so my kids give me Christmas list. I have a kid that gave me a Christmas list, gave me an item on the top of the Christmas list that the other two kids are like, well, that's just stupid. Like, what a waste of money. That's just stupid. But it's the thing on the top of the Christmas list, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what is expected. He wants this more than anything in the world. And I had to explain to the other two kids, he's getting it. If he wants it more than anything in the world, he's getting it. Which brings me to my first question today. If you had a White Sox off-season wish list, what is the thing on the top of it? It may even be stupid. Other people may hate the idea. It may not make sense financially. Whatever it may be. What is on the top of your wish list that you need to have by spring training?
I'm gonna parrot something AJ Przinsky said.
Oh, I love that interview.
Podcast.
I love that interview. Chuck Garfien looked uncomfortable in that interview because he was basically telling them that this team screwed up. Chuck doesn't like to hear that. They don't talk about that kind of stuff on Chuck's show.
No, but AJ said something that, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but I'm going to turn it into, I want a player that brings legitimacy to this team.
Here, I agree with him.
So someone who, when the White Sox trade for them or sign them as a free agent, it will be a near universally praised, because there's always haters out there, but a near universally praised move where people will look at it and go, okay, this is good. Because we have Colson Montgomery, okay, but jury's out. He had half a season and he looked really good. There's talent on the team. Chase Mydroth and Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro. These are our names and players, but we don't have the guy that you just sit there and fans around the country, out of town stupid, and other executives, all the baseball writers, all the sports talking heads would sit there and go, yeah, that's a good move. Bringing that guy on is a really, really good move. Not a savvy move, not an underrated move, not a creative move, but something that is just like, yes, that fills a need for the team, and that's it. So it could be a starting pitcher.
I know who I want.
It could be a closer. It could be an outfielder. But
I know who I want.
I want legitimacy.
I know.
So who do you want?
Who's my legit guy who's still out there that I would want? And I'm going to say it, and everybody's going to be like, well, Jerry's not going to pay for it. I know Jerry's not going to pay for it.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we know that.
They're not going to do this. I know they're not going to do it. But I believe that AJ's right. Like, we say it all the time. This idea that you're just going to wait for every prospect to work out. And everybody's just going to come together at the right time. And everybody's going to develop in the same way. You don't need to go out and get that guy. I think is flawed. There's a problem with it. I think you need that guy.
That's why universally across baseball, rebuilds like that do not work. The rebuilds work when you bring in players to augment them.
I would go out and give a boatload of money to Bo Bichette. I would give a boatload of money to a 28-year-old shortstop and move Colson Montgomery to third and make Vargas stand over at first. You would be fine with Vargas's home run output when you add a Bo Bichette in there and Colson Montgomery at third. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
28 years old, give him a 10-year contract, make Bo Bichette a White Sox, and here's the thing, he may end up in the Hall of Fame one day. You may be retiring his number. He's a beast. What he's done in the early part of his career, I think I really like Bo Bichette. And he's got pop, and he's a gamer. And what the Blue Jays had with him this year was he was one of the engines that was making the car go there, and he got hurt at the end. And that when he got hurt, it impacted the Blue Jays, and they've got tons of talent on that team, and it negatively impacted the Blue Jays. They weren't winning at the same rate. They didn't know what they were going to do in the postseason. He wasn't even ready to come back and play, and they were just dragging him out there with a bat, and he couldn't even run because just having him swing was worth it. And he's out there as a gamer still hurt, trying to bat in the World Series. Give me him at 28, because here's the problem. Sometimes you add one of these guys, and they're 32, 33 in the free agent market. If you're going to go AJ's route, go with a guy who's 28 years old and plays a premier position and hits a ton. That's the guy. That's who I would want.
Oh my gosh, that is an outstanding pick.
It's a franchise changing acquisition,
really is.
Right? And you could still do the rebuild, and you could still you'd still be a middle of the road payroll. I bet you if you added Bo Bichette to the money he was asking for, you don't even crack the top 20 payrolls with the rest of the guys that are on this team. Why not? Even if you're not ready to compete. Like now I'm going to get angry about it, even though I know we can't do it, right?
Right.
I know we're not going to do it. I know we're not going to do it. But why not? Why not add a guy at 28 years old to a long-term deal and make him a keystone inside of your lineup? Shock the world in the acquisition. And you know what you tell your fans? We made this move because we do believe we're going to be competing in 27. And we want this team to believe that we can even compete this year for a wild card, even though they probably couldn't get it even with Bo Bichette there. But we're going to start adding some urgency and some talent with these other guys. Like that would be such a move at 28. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't take a 32-year-old Bo Bichette. I'd take a 28-year-old Bo Bichette right now and put him on this team.
Right. Well, because in a long-term deal like that, it's you're basically saying, I understand the last 3, maybe 4 years of that contract, the production is going to be kind of middling. It's not going to be the best. But Bo Bichette, outside of his 2024 season, which was just a disaster for him in so many ways, he came rebounding back last year in 25. And over the course of his career, he is consistently around 300 with the batting average. He is consistently around 800 with the OPS. He is consistently, in a good on-base percentage level of, somewhere in the 330s. Something like that, you're right. The changing of the guard that would happen with the White Sox, even in terms of how the clubhouse views itself. You can't tell me that Luis Robert Jr., if they decide they have to keep him because the trades are not there, you can't tell me that he, in a lineup where he is surrounded by Bo Bichette, Colson Montgomery, Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro, Miguel Vargas to a certain degree, but that group right there, you can't tell me that Robert's not going to have some reason to rebound. If for no other reason, then teams aren't going to be able to just sit there and say, well, just don't let Luis Robert Jr. beat you. They're going to have to let him beat them sometimes because guys are going to be on base ahead of him.
Right.
Thunder's going to come up behind him. Tell me if Luis Robert Jr. is in the 3 spot, which I don't know that I'd put him there, but if he's in the 3 spot with Colson Montgomery behind him and you've got 2 guys on,
and
what you going to do?
Yeah.
And Bo Bichette
we're not going to do it.
Looming.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is on the Christmas list. It's not going to get.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
We're waking up without. We're not getting him. Right. Like that's not we're getting underneath the tree. That's not happening. We're getting Tristan Peters. Okay, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him in a quick moment. First of all, for exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Doors Superstore of Oak Forest. No high pressure sales. They are not coming into your place with some dingy example window and pictures in a book. No, you go to their showroom. You see everything in full living color, full sized, and then you also get to talk with an owner. There's always one on site. There's one on site when the install occurs. They use all of their own installers. They do not farm out the work. Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest, been around in Oak Forest since 1985. All major brands custom made, no stock items for a perfect fit. And they are a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com. So the White Sox grabbed an outfielder from the Tampa Bay Rays that they didn't have room for on their 40-man, and the White Sox had room on their 40-man. So it's cash, I want to believe, or a player to be named later. It's one of those things where there's not an investment here. There's not somebody else going back, but officially it is a trade. I find it interesting that Peters, who I don't see anything that jumps off the page, he looks like he's a competent AAA player who got a cup of coffee this year. What did he play? 4 games? Four games.
Did not do well.
Didn't get a hit.
But
over 12.
He's
over 12.
He's an on-base percentage guy who doesn't strike out a lot. His minor league numbers, he's striking out about 18% of the time. That's about it.
Here's why I'm intrigued. The White Sox at the same time have reportedly brought in Carlos Rodriguez, an assistant GM and vice president with the Rays, who was in the Tampa Bay Rays organization for 15 years. Former scout with the Blue Jays. Now, I hear that we are poaching somebody from a Rays front office that's been in there for a decade and a half, and I get excited. Because if any team knows how to, on a strict budget from ownership, find talent that other teams don't identify, develop that talent, and get rid of talent that may be hyped, but in the end isn't going to work out, to go find new talent, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. I get afraid every time you make a deal with Tampa Bay because I assume they're fleecing you. Because that's what they do. That is a well-run organization, at least inside of the front office, that deals with payroll restrictions. And Chris Getz has added this guy into his brain trust in what it seems like he'll be an assistant GM here as well. And what happens as this deal is going down? This guy's getting DFA'd. And I believe Carlos Rodriguez is saying, hey, Getzy, first thing I want to tell you is you want this Peters guy, and here's why. That's how this reads to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you think about the trade last year of Adrian Hauser, who is not coming back to the White Sox now that he's a Giant.
He's a Giant.
The trade for Curtis Mead. Curtis Mead is a guy who was a hyped prospect by the Rays. Curtis Mead is a guy that was on prospect lists. Curtis Mead is a guy that was considered to be one of the many Rays prospects who hadn't really earned a shot or hadn't been given a fair shake and was probably worth the squeeze. The juice was worth the squeeze for another team to take him on. I wasn't overly impressed with Curtis Mead when he came to the White Sox. He's a guy that's going to be fighting for his baseball life as far as making the roster this year. He's out of options. So, I don't fault the trade. It's a good idea for Adrian Hauser to get this guy who may have a lot of talent. But you're right. If the Rays are casting somebody off, chances are, they're not worth it, because what do the Rays do? They cling on to the best talent that they can find, hold on to them until they become expensive, and then they send them on their way with a thank you very much for all the years of service, which is the model that Chris Getz will have to do. unless and until ownership gives him a checkbook that actually has checks in it. Because I believe Chris Getz has a checkbook. It has a pen with no ink.
It's on that page. It's on that page that says it's time to renew your checks. Order more here.
Right. Or it's just on the register. It just shows what's been paid in the past.
It's hysterical. Here's the thing. The thing that's intriguing about Peters, because if I looked at him, I'd be like, this is a guy who's, an average OPS, slightly above, league average in AAA and gets on base and doesn't strike out a lot. Okay, fine. But I'm not that excited about it. But they didn't get rid of him necessarily because he was bad. They got rid of him because he was on the 40-man and they couldn't remove him from the 40-man and add another signing that they just made. Somebody had to go. So there's a chance that there's a reason why now we have this new assistant GM that's saying, hey, we should bring this guy over. I know him. I think that he might not work out, but I think making that move, I think bringing in somebody from the Rays organization, bravo. Yeah. When Jerry isn't spending money on players, and Getz looks at that and goes, okay, well then how can I improve? Let me get this guy. The Yankees were looking to get this guy. One of the reports out is that he was highly sought after by big time clubs that have a lot more money to spend. Right. And a better chance of doing things. And he's coming to the South Side. You look at the guys that Chris Getz has brought into the front office. Let's compare and contrast real quick. Do you think Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn go out and grab as many guys from outside the organization, especially guys that might come in and tell them they've been doing it wrong? Because this guy's going to come in from Tampa Bay and be like, this is what you're doing wrong. To hire a guy this, you want to know what he's going to say that you're doing wrong. That's what you want to hear. You want him to come in and say, okay, look, this is good. But when we sit around and we make trades with the White Sox, this is what we laugh about when the phone gets hung up. Kenny couldn't handle that. His ego was too big. He would never do something like that, right?
No,
because he can walk into any room, look at a player, and be able to identify whether or not he's a Hall of Famer or an All-Star. I can't remember what that quote was.
I think he said All-Star. I don't think he said Hall of Famer.
Whatever. All he has to do is look at a guy and he can identify it, which baffles me because we only have one World Series and an awful lot of really bad seasons and some poor rebuilds underneath him. But supposedly all he has to do is look at him. That's his attitude. That's his ego. Chris Getz, for what it's worth, knowing what his owner is, understanding how the payroll works, understanding that he can't maybe go out and get the things that he really wants to go out and get, but saying, I can get this guy. I can walk in and I can tell my owner, he's just, an executive salary. And we can afford an executive salary. And I would like to move him into my front office because I think he would help me identify players that we won't have to spend as much money on. He knows exactly who his owner is. I've been yelling for years. Even before this show, I've been screaming, yelling. How do the people that make the decisions when it comes to the roster on this team and how they're going to build it, how do they not understand who the guy is that's in the owner's box? Because I know who he is, and the majority of White Sox fans know who he is. And he's told you who he is if you're paying attention. So, that's the thing. So, I love this move because of it. It's another way of seeing he may not be the general manager I wanted in the first place, but I don't know what else to ask for when he's going out and he's making moves that basically say, look, I don't care if I don't know the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to go out and find an expert that knows the answer. I'm going to bring him in here.
Well, yeah, the important thing that Getz has done, the most important thing that Getz has done is he has checked his ego at the door, I feel like.
Completely.
Because from the moment he took over, even though he was part of the prior regime, the first thing he did was sit there and say, this doesn't work. And it's not because I don't think that Chris Getz sat there and said, I have to mold this in my own image. I think it's from his own experience and talking to people around baseball and having been with the Blue Jays and Royals, that he noticed that this was not an organization that was well organized or run. And so he's been making these changes and bringing in talent. You think about Bannister and Fuller, okay, and trying to create a philosophy organization-wide for pitching and hitting. That's something a lot of organizations do and have been doing for a long, long time. But the White Sox were relying on, I can see an all-star just by, having him stand there in the mirror. And it doesn't, it doesn't fly to sit there and say, I know better than everybody else. Executives across any sport that say, I know better than everybody else are the ones that inevitably get pantsed over and over and over again in trades, in free agency. I mean, why does Jerry not want to sign players to long-term deals? Partially because he's had GMs in the past that signed the wrong players to big contracts. So Jamie Navarro ruined it for everybody because Jamie Navarro was not a good investment. And everybody in baseball knew it. That's how he ended up taking a little bit less money from the White Sox because they could have been outbid. It wasn't that huge of a contract.
Poor Jamie Navarro. He's just like the old time White Sox fans like Ed are like they still they're never forgetting that name. He'll be laying on his deathbed one day and he'll be like, Jamie Navarro.
No, I hopefully I don't see Jamie Navarro standing there. If I do, I'll be like, dude, you got employment as the Grim Reaper. Awesome job.
That music means the Sox nerd, Dave Marin, who puts all those tidbits and trivia nuggets up on the scoreboard at The Rate, is on the line as he is each and every weekend to give you even more here on Sox in the Basement, brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Want to experience a downtown with real history, great eats and drinks, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore, and see everything they have going on for the holiday season. And also check out the Lamont Unlocked podcast with yours truly at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for us?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Welcome to the second annual Sox Nerd Christmas special, where I leave a few Yuletide-related Sox nuggets under the tree and stuffed in your stocking. You may have heard some of these gems before. No complaining, or I'll put you on the naughty list. Plus, you watch a Charlie Brown Christmas every year, don't you? Anyway, let's start the White Sox celebration one day early. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and north of the border, the Sox were looking for help at the top of the order. They acquired Tim Raines, but someone had to be gone. Turned out it was popular outfielder Ivan Calderon. Yes, in 1990, the Sox obtained Raines and pitcher Jeff Carter from the Montreal Expos for Calderon and reliever Barry Jones in the most significant transaction on Christmas Eve in White Sox history. It's a Wonderful Life is a must-watch at Christmas time. The lead in that flick, Jimmy Stewart, portrayed Monty Stratton in The Stratton Story, the biopic on the White Sox pitcher of the 1930s who tried to make a comeback after a hunting accident. Stewart starred in The Stratton Story 3 years after making It's a Wonderful Life. Speaking of movies, the White Sox play a role in the iconic 1983 movie A Christmas Story. The movie is set basically in Hammond, Indiana, which is in the heart of White Sox country. In addition, Gene Shepard, the creator of A Christmas Story, was a huge Sox fan and mentioned in passing Bill Bullfrog Dietrich in the work. Bullfrog was a pitcher for the Sox in the dreary 1930s and 1940s. Shepard's favorite player was the great Nellie Fox, who was born on Christmas Day 1927. Fox is the all-time leader among Christmas Day babies with 15 All-Star appearances. Fox joined Chicago and Rickey Henderson and Pud Galvin as the only players born on Christmas Day in the Hall of Fame. Christmas Day was the day the Sox lost their original home. In 1940, Southside Park, where the Sox played from April 21, 1900 until June 27, 1910, was destroyed by fire. In between, the small wooden park witnessed the first American League game, the first Sox no-hitter, and housed the Sox first World Series champion in 1906. In fact, Southside Park is the only Chicago venue to host a World Series clincher by a Chicago team. The park, located on the north side of 39th Street, now Pershing Road, between South Wentworth and South Princeton, was the home of the Negro League Chicago American Giants when it succumbed to flames. The only player in Major League history with the last name Christmas played 12 of his 24 big league games with the 1984 White Sox. Catcher Steve Christmas hit .364 with a double, a clutch home run, and 4 RBIs in his time with the Sox. Other Sox players with Christmas names were Don Rudolph, Gary, George, Kevin, Ralph, and Albert Bell, Red and Green, that's Red Wilson and Tyler Green, Clay Carroll, Angel Sanchez, Jesus Pena, and Eric King. The first Sox Christmas Day transaction came in 1984 when they signed free agent outfielder Mark Gilbert. Gilbert later served as the U.S. ambassador to New Zealand. The Sox latest Christmas Day transaction came in 2019 when they signed free agent outfielder Edwin Encarnacion. No one from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania or Santa Claus, Indiana has played for the Sox, but on Christmas and July night at the park last season, it gave me tidings of comfort and joy to post on the scoreboard that Colson Montgomery hails from Holland, Indiana, which is just 14.6 miles from Santa Claus, Indiana. Before I get to my zinger, let me remind you I am posting 2025 player reviews, birthday updates, a daily Sox list, and almanac items on Twitter and on my WordPress blog, which you can link to at soxinthebasement.com. My zinger? In addition to Nellie Fox, those with Sox ties born on Christmas Day are Tom O'Malley, one-time third base coach Wallace Johnson, Jack Hamilton, Ben Chapman, and Gene Lamont. Speaking of Lamont, I'd like to thank the Village of Lamont for sponsoring The Nerd on this fine podcast, and thank you, Chris, for letting me yell into my phone once a week about the Sox. I absolutely love it. That's it, Chris. Probably more than you wanted to know about Bullfrog, Singed Southside Park, and Pud Galvin. Merry Steve Christmas, everyone.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.